Welcome to Sequential Geek. Welcome to Comic Book Haul 69, part LIX. This is actually going to be two comic book hauls. My last comic book haul when I was in Colorado just before I left that last Wednesday, and my first comic book haul from a local shop out here, Stadium Cards and Comics. These three comics I got were just for fun. I was just trying to support the shop, Vision Comics and Oddities, right? I always push them because it's just a dope shop southwest of Denver. Great staff there, and I just want to get some stuff for fun. This first one, BRZRKR Poetry of Madness. This is a reprint of this one-shot comic book that came out in 2023 last year, and it's a cash grab book. It's by Steve Scroce. Keanu Reeves produced this property, so all the characters are in his likeness. Steve Scroce, you might know him from that Marvel comic book series, Clobbering Time, right? It's 5-issue Ben Grimm action series that he did illustrations for. And he also had his comic book out of Image called Maestros. All right, so this is a reprint of this one-shot BRZRKR Poetry of Madness, pen and ink, because it's just the pen and ink. There's just black and whites, and then you've got his commentary at the bottom. And it's a story about how this Keanu Reeves character was the bodyguard for the King of Atlantis. Right there. Yeah, pretty fucking dope. I have faith in the House of Reeves. I know a lot of these like Boom Studios comics and Image, they just have a slew of books that it's almost like with the hollow foil cover of the 90s, that whole concept of option for a movie, option for a TV show. You know, Faust was supposed to have some television show or movie, never happened. Image has a slew of books like Analog, Versus, so on. Like, none of those are going to get any type of action. It's tragic what happened to Vertigo's Why the Last Man, which is, you know, why I'm glad that they haven't made Unfollow yet. This was supposed to be optioned as well. DMZ, that other Vertigo comic, fucking tragic, awful remake of that. Unfollow, I just finished reading. There's 3 trade paperbacks, 6 issues each. This ran for 18 issues. And Rob Williams, Mike Dowling is doing most of the art, like 90% of these issues. Mike Dowling. And just want to push this real quick. This is some great reading. It's real fun. A little bit ahead of its time. Came out 2016, 2017 though. And just this rich billionaire who started this monster of a social media company is dying in his mid-20s, and he decides that his $18 billion wealth is going to be distributed among 140 of his followers from his social media company. And he dies when he invites them all to this island that he lives on, just some tropical island, and he tells them all just before he dies that after he dies, they'll all inherit his wealth with monthly installments, and then if anyone else should die, that monthly installment will increase with each death of the 140 people that have been given this prize. And supposedly the 140 are randomly picked, but they're not. And it's this social experiment that's going on with this billionaire. So check out Unfollow. Really dug this story. Back to the haul. BRZRKR Poetry of Madness, Steve Scroce. So this is the one shot that got reprinted just this past spring. And of course, since I have faith in the House of Reeves, like I was saying, there's a slew of option for a movie type comics, but this is a property from, I would say, a pretty reputable source. I'm digging those Reeves movies. You guys all right? doesn't have a bad reputation or anything, so if they actually follow through with this, how fucking cool would that be? Just, it's all action. It's a great story. This artwork is by Ron Garney, and probably should be careful with this comic book now that I'm thinking about it, because it's the 1 in 50. Oh my god. Yeah, 1 in 50. Mark Brooks, Virgin variant, out of 2021. 12-issue series. The first appearance of BRZRKR. And then the third comic I got over at the shop just before I left the wasteland of the Front Range is Young Avengers. I was like, come on, let me get it for 100. Take $20 off. It's my last week here. And then I'm like, oh yeah, well, you know I'm not actually returning, so... No, they're good people there. I love the staff out there at Vision Comics and Oddities, just southwest of Denver. Now, when I saw this on the wall, I thought I was just taking this off their hands because I thought there was a color-breaking spine crease, but I'm not seeing any color-breaking spine crease. It must have just been the glare. So, Jim Chung art. I think he did the artwork for House of M. I really dug that series. I thought that was fun. I liked the idea of Civil War and of Secret Invasion, especially the whole reinvestment in Marvel's history with Secret Invasion and the Illuminati stories. It was fucking awesome. But it was just so much leading up to like Spider-Man and Wolverine joining the new Avengers. For me, that was just like, you know, how people bitch about how a lot of stuff is forced upon us today with politics. I mean, for me, that was just forced upon us based on just their brand, cross-brand recognition. I'm like, why would they do that? Because they wanted to sell their company, and they wanted everybody to know that Spider-Man and Wolverine are associated with the Avengers, because the Avengers movie was going to be coming out in 2012. Stuff like that, that just didn't make sense, but they were doing it because they were setting themselves up to be bought out by Disney. Yeah. So, New Avengers, Alan Heinberg, this ran for 12 issues, this first volume. First appearance of Iron Lad. This is like some derivative of Kang, I think. I don't know how he fits in the Kang mythos, but this whole title was derivative. I wasn't crazy about it at first, but then when I found out that these were more like cosplayers, fans, that's why they were trying to look and mock, mimic, emulate the original Avengers, because the original Avengers, with Avengers disassembled, you know, kind of been out of commission for a minute. First appearance of Wiccan. I mean, technically you could say it's Vision and Scarlet Witch, the last issue of that 12-issue limited series when he was born, like as an infant, him and Speed, the twin brother. But first appearance of Wiccan really here. First appearance of Hulkling, Doric, the Skrull heir. Kate Bishop's first appearance is in here. And then Elijah Bradley, the nephew of Josiah X, I found out, but he's also the grandson of Isaiah Bradley. And Isaiah Bradley is the protagonist in Red, White, and Black, the limited series called Truth, Red, White, and Black. I think it was 7 issues, written by Robert Morales in 2003. Kyle Baker art, and that was just this African-American platoon that were used as guinea pigs for the trial versions of the super soldier serum. Yeah, one of them survived, only one, and it's this guy's grandfather. First appearance of Patriot and first appearance of Kate Bishop. And yeah, I dug what Jim Chung was doing. I liked his House of M work. It was fun, and I'm pretty sure it was Jim Chung and House of M. Could be wrong. A lot of ads in this, but definitely digging the artwork. So Marvel was moving more towards back to the superhero roots and less towards the indie slice of life type stuff that I was really digging. Not necessarily slice of life, but just like that indie take. They were having a lot more fringe writers, creators, kind of expand characterization-based stories. Some really cool action and just kind of modernizing the look of these heroes, their style. That was going on a lot from 99, 2000 to 2004, 2005. It got me back into comics, but This was cool. This was all right, but I just was kind of liking more of that stuff, so I was just stopping around 2005 when this came out. I did manage to get a couple copies of the first and second issue when it did first come on the scene. But like I said, I wanted to get this just to support the shop. And I thought I was taking it off their hands because I thought I saw a color-breaking spine crease, but turns out there's not. Lucky me. All right, check this out. So synthetic xenomorphs, right? Alien Stronghold, issue number 1. Got a second copy, May 1994. First appearance of Jerry, the synthetic alien made by Dr. Nordling. Okay? Dr. Nordling. But the first synthetic alien is in 1992. That's Norbert. It's made by Dr. Stanislav Mayakovsky. That's right. He created this synthetic cybernetic ant that was able to infiltrate an alien hive. He wrote a book about it. And then this woman seduces him so that he can create Jerry, the synthetic alien that'll go get that sex drug. The alien jelly. That substance that covers the ovomorph pods, the eggs. Yeah, it can be used as like a sex drug and serious aphrodisiac. And that's the driving force behind these innovations for these synthetic xenomorphs. Drug addiction. Alien Stronghold. So check this out. So you know how the third Aliens movie came out in 1992. All right, that's the third Aliens movie. That was kind of a big deal because this book, right? When this book came on the scene, Dark Horse had been in business for a couple of years, since 1986, when the second Aliens movie came out in 1986. You've got Mike Richardson opening up Dark Horse Comics. 2 years later, what does he do? He creates this comic book series called Aliens. It's 3 limited series that show what happened to Newt and Hicks like 11 years after the 1986 James Cameron movie. And she's in a mental institution, and Hicks is like a pariah. He's still in the military, but nobody had really acknowledged that these xenomorphs exist until Aliens. So people didn't really trust Hicks. They didn't know what to think of him. They didn't know what the military or the government were going to do with him. People were just keeping their distance with him. So then he was just isolating himself, and he's just kind of fucked up at the beginning of this series. So that's how this 3 sets of limited series started off. And I got this at a con, a little local con over at Knights of Columbus in Detroit area. I was going to hold this off for another comic book haul from my little Knights of Columbus haul, but I just wanted to show this because, yeah, $125, first print, May 1988. Outside of your heavy metal Aliens movie comic book adaptation in 1979, that Walter Simonson art, yeah, that was the first appearance. You had Xenomorphs in comics, Ellen Ripley in comics, but then Ellen Ripley's first appearance since then was in the second limited series of this story here, the last panel. So when the third Aliens movie came out in 1992, it starts off with Hicks and Newt dead, right? They're dead. So in 1992, when the movie came out, Hicks and Newt were dead. So what did Dark Horse do? When they had the library edition, the reprints of these stories, they ended up renaming Newt and Hicks. The reprints ex machina their names. And the library edition called this story, I believe, Aliens Earth Hive. Yep, they changed their name, and they changed the story to Aliens Earth Hive. And as a result, when they had the library edition of Aliens Hive that comes out in 1992 originally, The library edition in the late 90s renamed this story to Aliens Harvest. And by the way, Kelly Jones, just a fucking great artist that I definitely recommend. This is one of these things I always talk about with like branding. When a company has a look of a character and they are licensing it out, those companies expect that character to stay the same for the most part, so that when they put that character next to their brand, somebody will buy that tube of toothpaste or that stick of gum or whatever. So when you have unique takes or even an advanced take on a character, when they're trying to advance the look, the style, bring something into the 21st century, modernize it, or even like what Todd McFarlane did with Spider-Man, well then when people see that new version of Spider-Man, but they don't see it on that tube of toothpaste, and they think that that company, oh, well, they're out of touch, they're out of date. So that's why these companies get so sensitive when a large conglomerate's worldwide famous brand, the look of it changes too much. But then again, you know, you got that copyright for Mickey Mouse, I think, with Steamboat Willie. That just ended, and then Superman's copyright is going to be ending in, what, 14 years? 15, 16 years for Batman, so they have to change the look. They have to keep advancing the look eventually. So when the copyright expires, I think after 95 years, 100 years, then that look, that original look, can be used. Thank you for swinging by, visiting my channel. If you're new to comics, get the hell off of YouTube. Please, seriously, get the hell away from YouTube. If you're returning, welcome. If you like indie comics or just Marvel and DC from before 10, 12 years ago, that's me. My main era is like Copper Age, and then like 99, 2000 to around 2005, 2006. So Aliens Earth Hive, Kelly Jones artwork, great style artist, but I just think that the reason he doesn't get a lot of gigs in Marvel and DC is, one, they can't afford him, and two, he's just too cool of an artist. That's why I was so surprised of that NuMarvel era that occurred 99, 2000, 2005, just because nobody was looking. Marvel stock was like under $3. They could get away with doing stuff like that. Aliens, Newt's Tales. So the Aliens 3 comic book did come out in 1992, but then the comic book version of the second Aliens movie didn't come out till 1992. And the Aliens movie, the extended edition, will show the scenes that you read here about how Newt's parents find the derelict spaceship, and I think her father gets one of those face huggers attached to him. So, and they got a little bit of prequel story leading up to the movie that you can see in that extended version of the Aliens movie. Next year, 2025, is going to be the 50th anniversary of Giant Size X-Men #1. First appearance, Storm, Colossus. Second appearance, Wolverine, or third appearance of Wolverine. Nightcrawler, first appearance. Arthur Adams doing the covers for these classic X-Men books. The title changes to X-Men Classic, I think around 45, 46, but until then, there's a supplemental story in the back, like an extra 10 pages that John Bolton does the artwork for. Chris Claremont writes. It's like a little slice of life type story. They kind of expand upon, I don't know, maybe relationships, love interests, social interactions, maybe a little side adventure, a little inconsequential story that just kind of gets into the personality of whatever character Chris Claremont wants to pick for that little supplemental story. And this reprint of Giant Size X-Men 1, written by Len Wein and Chris Claremont, with David Cockrum doing the artwork. Typically, I would say, you know, anything that's like 1984 and later, 83, keep the condition good. But yeah, if it's not a newsstand and you want a spec, you're wasting your time if you get a direct edition. But I just saw how white this border was. Couldn't resist. Yeah, I know, $15. Me so loco. Avengers 185. Check this out. This is the first part of this 3-part story that ends with kind of like a precursor to the Dark Phoenix, right? Because this is the Dark Scarlet Witch story where she gets possessed by the Darkhold, and by the 3rd part, it's like this Dark Scarlet Witch, right? She's kind of possessed by the Darkhold, and John Byrne's doing the artwork. He later collaborates with Chris Claremont to create the Dark Phoenix. The Scarlet Witch, she's having these dreams about Wundagore, these nightmares, and she's like, we got to get to Wundagore. And so her brother, Quicksilver, goes to Wundagore, and then they're there. Like, he didn't even have a chance to put his hand down. I'm serious. It's really fast. So they make it to Wundagore, and this cover, by the way, is done by George Perez. If you want to learn about some greats out of the 80s, Copper Age names, check it out. Mark Grunwald and Stephen Grant developed the story, the plot. David Michelini did the script. All right, there's a name for you. David Michelini is a writer from the 80s that I learned about, really dug. Mark Grunwald, he did the 12-issue Squadron Supreme series. Check that out. Stephen Grant wrote the first 4-issue Punisher limited series. And, you know, Wundagore Mountain, just want to get into that real quick. Yo, 666, y'all. He's got this video. It's called the Darkhold Remix. I mean, that's where I'm getting my information from, so I have to give a shout out to that cat and just say what's up. Thanks, man. But, yeah, Wundagore Mountain, source of magic, right? Chthon, one of the original elders of the universe. This guy, he knew he was going to be banished from Earth, so he writes down all these dark fucking spells and shit on you know, of all things, of course, skin, right? Flayed out skin. And holds it in these caves beneath Wundagore. Darkhold. Somebody, I don't know, maybe it was Chthon then, eventually put them all together, copied all the information down in a book, the Darkhold, Wundagore Mountain. It's like this source of magic. Dark magic, dark mystical magic. Look at Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. Right? Her father worked with the High Evolutionary on Wundagore Mountain. Right? You know her genes got fucked with. And you know that magic of Wundagore Mountain, you know, she's got some type of magic background to her story, Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. No wonder Scarlet Witch is so messed up, right? Their parents, whether it was Magneto or not, I think the mom died at childbirth. So then Bova, this creation of the High Evolutionary, takes the twins and gives them to this golden age, like Timely Comics superhero, Miss America. Her kids died at birth. Her husband, the Wizard, takes in then these twins. I think that's the original story. That's how it goes, y'all. Got this for $8. And these comics now that you're seeing after those first 3 are from Stadium Cards and Comics out here in Ipsy's local shop. One of the guys that originally owned it is still there. It looks like they got some new owners. Not cool. God, it's like no small talk, very dry, dismissive. They don't know comics. And now Stadium Cards and Comics is just turning into one of the regular American shops. No real human interaction, no real interest in customer service. It's fucking tragic. So Walter Simonson, you know, he did the artwork on the Fantastic Four, I think like later half of the 80s, around 1990. But then, you know, previous to that, he did the artwork on Thor, and that's what I liked about Walter Simonson, like wood, earth, animals, fantasy. He seemed great with Thor. But if you think about it, it was Walter Simonson that did do the artwork on that heavy metal adaptation of Aliens. That was awesome. But then look at the artwork in this. I did not like Walter Simonson's work on Fantastic Four, is my point. I just didn't see him doing science fiction. I didn't see him doing stuff like right angles or metal, ships out in space, whatever. But this script, this story is David Michelini. And it is Walter Simonson doing the artwork here. Pretty dope, huh? Yeah, I like this cover. Vader cover. You know, Vader, right? He's based off of Doctor Doom to a large extent, in my opinion. More of that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby influence on our reality. I heard about how Rosansky bought these center page ads. Took a chance on a large investment, made out. So this is out of October 1981 cover date. Star Wars 52. I gave the whole speech in my last comic book haul towards the end about the history of Yuriko Oyama. So her first appearance, 1983, in Daredevil issue 196, I believe, and then 3 issues later, she kills her father, Lord Darkwind. He's the person out of Japan, the scientist that created this process of how to bond metal to someone's skeleton, like Bullseye's spine or Wolverine, right? It was, I think it was a paper by Lord Darkwind that was shown to be on the desk of James McDonald Hudson. Yeah, little hints here and there. Mike Mignola cover. So you got a couple, 2.5 years later, about 3 years later, 1986. Goes from Denny O'Neil's Daredevil story to now Yuriko Oyama's this vengeful warlord, Japanese warlord. And then the next month, Chris Claremont gets a hold of her Chris Claremont and Barry Windsor Smith, and have her be given these cybernetic finger blades by Spiral from the Mojoverse. So we got Chris Claremont, Bill Mantlo writing this, and then before that, Denny O'Neil. Machine Man. Now, why is this fucking such a cool book? I love this comic. I dig Machine Man. Aaron Stack. Yeah. Jack Kirby wrote and illustrated 2001: A Space Odyssey. Okay. And that came out, I think, came out in 1977. That was the 8th issue of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So that's Machine Man's first appearance. Jack Kirby wrote and illustrated that comic book for 10 issues. And I think the reason that that comic book, 2001: A Space Odyssey, got canceled was because this character, by the in the 8th issue when he appeared, this scientist, Dr. Aaron Stack, felt that this android he was developing, working on, was alive. He considered it his son. Model X-51 is then called Aaron by Dr. Stack. Aaron Stack becomes Mr. Machine. Well, there's a copyright on Mr. Machine from some toy that came out about 10 years earlier. So the next year, Machine Man #1 comes out. That's right. And then Jack Kirby writes and illustrates Machine Man for the first 9 issues. And who, of all people, of all the legends of Marvel Comics, just the comics in general, right, of American Sequential, of all the legends, Steve Ditko. What a mensch. Steve Ditko that takes up the illustrating duties on Machine Man for the rest of the issues, from issues 10 to 19. There might have been one filler artist, I don't know who it was. Some of the covers towards the end are done by guest artists, like Frank Miller does the last issue cover, cover 19. It's the first appearance of Jack-o'-lantern. Birth of a Superhero, illustrations by Steve Ditko. And once again, this comic book, Machine Man, issue 10, August 1979, a direct edition coming out before 1983-84. It's going to be more rare than a newsstand. And you got that nice white border. Oh yeah. $10 though. It's getting up there. I miss the days when we could just innovate instead of having things pushed upon us like DEI. Grant Morrison's new X-Men story, full of innovations, started with issue 114. I think he wrote until around 156, but I recommend new X-Men issues 114 to 140, and then you have this Mark Silvestri artwork that's like a Days of Future Past type story with all the new characters that Grant Morrison introduces in his run. It's issues 151 to 154, and it's like a Days of Future Past story. It's got like Beak, an older version of Beak, for example. New X-Men 129. This is the second appearance of Phantom X. That's right. Igor Corday actually does the interiors. That was another thing that was going on during this era, though. I love this era, but the whole bait and switch with Frank Quitely starting off the artwork in this Grant Morrison run, and then they would have other artists, which were great. I loved Igor Corday. Ethan Van Sciver is an awesome artist. But the whole bait and switch with the covers not matching the interior started happening around the early 2000s. More common these days, it's like typical. But back around 99, 2000 onwards, for me, that wasn't my regular comic book reading experience. That was something new. So Igor Corday does the interiors for this cover that he actually illustrates, the second appearance of Phantom X. Issue 133, the first appearance of Dust. This is your first Afghani mutant, by the way. Frank Quitely doing the cover. And this is Suraya Kadir. Dust, out of December 2002. Ethan Van Sciver doing the interiors for the first appearance of Dust. First appearance of Quentin Quire. It's pretty sweet. Ethan Van Sciver. Karen Grant doing the interiors of this issue. Came out January 2003. So yeah, $5 a piece, 3 first appearances, pretty decent condition. Yeah. If we would ever be incentivized to actually enter physical buildings again, I always thought it would be cool if there was, like, instead of a bookstore, have it just be called Sequential. And then you could do everything from learning how to repair something, learn a language, cooking, history, and then also adaptations of movie, poetry, literature, great works of prose and stage throughout the history of mankind. Just think that that's one of the cool aspects of sequential of comic books. You know, you can adapt a poem, a song, something like Shakespeare's comedy, A Midsummer Night's Dream, stuff like this, like a nice quality reprint. I don't think this thing's ever been opened. Kind of had a slight creak when I opened it, so I was like, fuck it. This is the 6th issue of Pendulum's Illustrated Stories. So they had a slew of black and white books. You know, there's a lot of these like classic illustrated and stuff like that reprint novels, adaptations that they just don't do anymore. This company, Pendulum, they started to reprint their stuff in color with these illustrated stories. They were going to do 72, and this is the last one. Volume 1, Issue 6. Yeah, I think 7 was supposed to be Hunchback of Notre Dame. So, just thought it was cool to get a classic adapted into comics. Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream that received the Hugo Award in Sandman 19, that story by Neil Gaiman and Charles Vess, that came out, I believe, a year earlier in 1990. Yeah, Sandman 19. Superbad James Dynamite, the first issue of which came out in December 2005, about this 1972 detective, like a lot of blaxploitation references of the 1970s. This character is modeled after Marlon Wayans. That's right. This whole setup here is a comic book by Marlon Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans, and Shawn Wayans. The graphic novel here, compilation of all the issues, came out the same year this got optioned, right? So Rogue Pictures in 2007 optioned the rights to this Wayne Brothers comic. Marlon and Shawn Wayans, says here, have written the feature screenplay with Xavier Cook and Michel Marchand. And this comic book features artwork by Robert Reed, Darren Huang and Ming Chi Chung. So Rick Leonardi doing the artwork on this comic, right? Yeah. All right, so I believe that this is the only compilation, the only set of Cloak and Dagger Foundation stories, like, you know, from their first appearance, Spectacular Spider-Man 64. You got 3 2-issue runs that they were on later in Spectacular Spider-Man the next couple of years, and then you've got an annual Marvel Team Up annual, Marvel Fanfare, and then like 3 issues, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, of New Mutants. You know how, like, you know, for me, like, I would just go through this phase of like, okay, Machine Man's my favorite hero, Vision's my favorite hero, or New Mutants. For a large part, I'd say it was New Mutants, but Cloak and Dagger, they fucking help, like, your people that are just like seriously down and out, like sexploitation of minors. They're there to help like your homeless runaways that are just forgotten, have slipped through the cracks of the system. So yeah, this was like as close to indie for me as it was being a Marvel zombie, Cloak and Dagger. I mean, they would be willing to kill somebody to save some lives. And considering the type of people they were saving, you were just like, yeah, more power to you. But they themselves just came from this down and out situation. It's a really interesting background, definitely fringe. And I can't stand it when I hear them being, you know, labeled mutants. I just find it, you know, kind of like with just Young Avengers. I like some of the concepts with that, but it seems like Young Avengers was created to have another Avengers title, not like organically or something that just was based off of some inspiration. This seems like it was. This seems like there's a niche that's to be filled, and I think as a consequence, just because of just the creative team behind this, it works. Just a real unique style of a street level, almost like anti-hero, like, you know, anti-protagonist in a way. But there's a lot to get into with these characters. Just was psyched to get this trade paperback because it's the only printing of their first set of appearances. Secrets number 92. That's the first appearance of Swamp Thing in 1971. That standalone story and that horror comic. And then 1972 until 1975, you've got the first volume of Swamp Thing. Yeah. All the stories are written by Len Wein that I'm about to show. All the artwork, cover, and interiors by the great Bernie Wrightson, the original creative team at A House of Secrets for Swamp Thing. So here we got Swamp Thing, issue number 4, April, May 1973. Swamp Thing, number 5, July, August 1973, and Swamp Thing number 6, September, October of 1973. Really cool. Bernie Wrightson comics. There's issue number 8. Couldn't resist that black border. I mean, stuff like that. You know, I'm not so much into hunting anymore, but yeah, look at, like, when you think that you find the title that you're looking for, but for me, I've always been kind of picky about the conditions, so seeing a lot of spine takes, color breaking spine takes is pretty common, you know, the older these books get, and to find an all black cover or something all white without any scuffs or marks, for me, just as a collector, I just get into that. Issue number 10, May, June 1974. Len Wein, writer, Bernie Wrightson, doing illustrations. Check it out. Color's a little faded, isn't it? Decided to pull the trigger on it. Hulk, issue 107, September 1968. Now this cover, you could say, is an inadvertent Collaboration. That's right. Mary Severin, excellent artist. She did the artwork on those Submariner series that came out in the 70s. I think I showed off last year, first appearance of Serpent Crown. That artwork she did, Mary Severin's fucking awesome. I don't know why nobody knows about Mary Severin, but turns out though, the cover that she did for this originally, let me show you what it looked like. In Marvel Superheroes issue 61. This is the original cover. Right here. Then they had to have John Romita Sr. come in and add that this version of the Mandarin right there. Mary Severin did the layouts for the interiors with Herb Trimpe finishes, by the way. Thank you all for visiting, checking out my channel. Really appreciate it. Your feedback is appreciated. Much love. Thank you very much for swinging by. Ending up this haul with a Jim Steranko joint. That's right. Jim Steranko, once again, right? Fucking... Just like with Machine Man, issue number 10, of all the people to follow, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko. Think about it like this. Of all the people to follow the Stan Lee Jack Kirby run on Captain America, right? A newbie, some new guy comes in, works successfully with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., gets a chance to do Captain America. He does 3 issues on Captain America, Jim Steranko. Issue 110, 111. 112 is done by the same original team, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And then issue 113, Steranko. I think it was issue 114, John Romita Sr., 115, John Buscema, and then Jerry Conway took over. Nobody remembers those covers, or those issues. People remember the 3 covers, the 3 issues that were done by Jim Steranko. Captain America 110, a 111, and 113. In this issue, Rick Jones, right? Captain America's all, I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want you to get hurt. You're my friend. You don't have powers and training. Who are you? You're not a superhero. Something like that. So what happens at the end? Rick Jones becomes Bucky at the end of this issue. February 1969. Jim Steranko, story and art. Hell yeah. Seriously, when I met Jim Steranko over at the Rocky Mountain Comic Con, that was last year. Same thing with Edgardo Miranda Rodriguez. 2 really open, friendly, assertive, really enthusiastic individuals about meeting fans and talking about comics, while all the sellers everywhere are dismissive, dry, and they have no idea how to talk to people. Check this out. Jim Steranko right there. Fucking dope splash page. And that's my haul, y'all. Appreciate you visiting. Thanks a lot for swinging by. Little Madam Viper action. Couldn't resist this Jim Steranko joint. Thanks a lot for visiting. Keep on reading comics. Keep on collecting. Peace.